The DPS is overwhelming, and Mana with the greedy build has to tap out. That is the dumbest, most ridiculous matchup ever, Probe. I love it, man. All right. What's up, everybody, and welcome back. We're here with a Stormgate cast, and joining me is the lovely Probe. How you doing, Probe?
Hello, everybody. Yeah, I'm doing wonderful. It's always a good day when I get to watch and play some Stormgate, almost at StarCraft.
Yeah, you've been my teacher of this on the last few days. You've played already hundreds of hours of Stormgate through the alphas and betas, so that's why I am very happy to be casting with you, because I get to ask questions in real time. Today's cast, though, is very special. This is the, I believe, Devastator build is what it's called. It's almost redundant. It basically is redundant. They're about to release a new build for the upcoming next wave of the beta, which is going to come with the Steam Next Fest, where everyone's able to play. And I wanted to cast this series specifically because we've got, it's Mana in the top right. Bottom left is Vortex, by the way, just to introduce the players. More importantly, it's Infernal versus Infernal, and they're super overpowered right now. So I wanted to cast this because it's this moment in time right here. We're not going to probably ever see this again. Is a game very early in development where the tech trees aren't complete, not all the units are there, and it's such a hot mess of a mirror matchup where it is just pure chaos and explosive overpowered abilities where you can infest each other's units and also tower rushes. What the heck is Vortex doing here, Probe?
Yeah, so Vortex has decided to become really aggressive in this game. He built 2 Iron Vaults back at his base, as close to his opponent Mana as possible, so that the rush distance is short. And now he's Shroudstone rushing, which is essentially the turret.
So he's going to tower rush from the low ground behind the Luminite mine. The Shrine can't see that yet. Mana's opening Shrine first is pretty greedy. You've told me he's one of the few players who do this. Most people will get an Iron Vault, a production building, so it can start stacking up charges, then start the expansion. But he's trying to go the double Iron Vault afterwards. So this is going to be really hard to hold. It looks like he's going to bring down an Imp and try to build a defensive tower.
Yeah, I think it's probably best to be on a meat farm. Meat farms are your initial, most important defensive structure in my opinion, just because the Fell Hogs over time gain so much value. But I think he's built it a bit too far away from the Shroudstone. I don't think the Fell Hogs, of course you can't control them, they're not able to be microed. So I think this Fell Hog at the top might just not do anything.
Yeah, because we've got a tower on the low ground, now a Shroudstone tower on the high ground as well. And Vortex's whole job is just protect those. But he's like, well, I can do a 2v1 battle. I can actually focus your Shroudstone down. He's going to get it. Forces the cancel. You can see from the money popping up that it was a cancel in time by Mana. But Mana's units are basically getting isolated. First, Fellhog came down, but it dies very, very quickly. Another meat farm is there. That second one is at least coming to fight the brutes. But the Shroudstone's in range. And if you're just outnumbered in the brutes, your Fellhogs, you can see just sitting at the top. They're not doing anything. They're not actually aggroing into the fight. So Mana maybe misplacing these buildings might cost him this expansion.
Yeah, I think that's probably likely at this point. Obviously, the nice thing, well, for both players is they're on Shroud, so their white health is regenerating. But when Vortex's brutes run across the map, they lose all their white health. So that's defender's advantage for Mana here. So maybe he can defend this. But the Shroudstone is getting focused down once again.
Oh, it is getting a few shots off. And okay, now the last brute hit does take it out. Fellhogs are going to come down and start trying to pick off these brutes. Not many splits going on just yet. There we go. He's going to split that brute. So for those who don't know, the brutes can split into 2 little fiends. Super high damage, super fast. They do die over time if they're not in Shroud, though. But look at that. The expansion's down. Do we have an expansion up behind this? Okay, so he's just moving down to take that. So this is like the, not an all-in. Are there all-ins like in StarCraft 2 and Stormgate, or is it more of this like heavy pressure, deny a base, take my base a bit earlier and get ahead?
Yeah, it's very much more very aggressive. It's not completely committed, because you can always, with Infernal, stop building units and let your charges build up and still get those units later. But in this case, 2 vaults, you can still expand behind it. If he was to build 3 vaults, then you wouldn't be able to gather enough money to build that shrine.
There's a bit of a desperate counterattack coming in here. But because Vortex was so decisive, he pushed in, killed the meat farms and the Shroudstone, so he's completely denied. Oh, that was sloppy there for Vortex, so he didn't split. If you don't split manually, you don't get any unless you have the upgrade. Oh, that brute's getting surrounded as well. Look at the DPS of these fiends, but that split was good.
Yeah, that was well timed, and of course, because they're off Shroud, Mana's fiends are losing HP. So, with enough damage, eventually those fiends die, and he's able to defend his natural.
Oh, not being able to retake the expansion. I mean, the shrine's already almost done. Obviously, we're actually casting this for recording, by the way, guys. Otherwise, I would kind of show you the imp count right now. But you can imagine that the imp count, it might be way oversaturated up here in the main of mana. Indeed, it's actually only on 12, so he hasn't even pre-built imps because, well, he hasn't even started the shrine, so why would he overbuild those imps necessarily? Whereas you can imagine on Vortex's side of the map, he's already doing it. Of course, he's already got imps rallying down to his natural. You can see the first couple ones on the minimap. He's outnumbered now. He might want to pull back and give up this fight, but with 2 Shroud Stones, he's going to try and make this really costly for mana.
Yeah, the idea is you just trade enough, and we actually see Bring Darkness, which is the Infest spell, go down. I don't think he's going to kill anything that will spawn any more Fiends. Actually, where did all these Fiends come from? I mean, maybe they did kill a few things.
Oh my god, we're going to explain that mechanic. So this is something, this is a best of 3, by the way, guys. So there's definitely going to be a lot more of that spell. Look for that big green and black kind of animation that Bring Darkness. It reduces vision on the units, but more importantly, it infests them. It damages them over time, and if they die while it's active, Fiends spawn out of them. You can both use that. The way that works is basically once you've built a Shroud Stone, one of those towers, it has spells that are like global abilities you can use, and the resource you use is Animus. You get Animus whenever Infernal units die anywhere on the map. Or is it any units?
It's any units, including resource camps, that you are close to. So if your opponent was losing units to a resource camp on the outside of the map and you weren't near it, you wouldn't gain any Animus for that.
If you even have 1 imp nearby, that counts?
That counts, yeah. So you just need to be nearby. We're not too sure about the exact range about it, but that's the idea. The other thing is if it happens on Shroud, so for example, when you split your own brutes, that counts as Animus for yourself.
Oh, wow, yeah.
If it happens on Shroud, you get 1.5 times your supply is the amount of Animus you
Even
gather.
if it's the enemy's Shroud, right?
Yeah, correct. Shroud is just completely global.
And this matchup is just like, wow, you're very often, unless you're in the middle of the map, fighting on Shroud, right? So you get a crazy amount of that Animus, and then you can use that for that Frenzy spell. It's like a big AoE. You can use it anywhere on the map. And yeah, it stacks with other infest abilities, which, the Gaunts, a ranged unit, which we might see later on, pretty standard in the meta. They can get like a sort of a hemoglobin infusion upgrade. Basically, it's almost like they activate a little timed thing, like a stim pack, and it makes them move faster, and anything they hit gets infested. And then infest stacks, so multiple Fiends can pop out of these units. And it's just ridiculous, because you can spawn Fiends from Fiends. So you were explaining this to me the other day, like, a fight can look like it's over, but then if the other guy throws an infest and pops a few of those Fiends, it can like snowball really hard in the other direction, and they can turn the armies around, and the other guy can do the same thing right back to them. So you get this weird seesaw effect. We get these cheesy tower rushes in the start sometimes, and then we just have like fights that are it's almost impossible to follow, but it's kind of hilarious, and it's ridiculous, and it's probably never going to exist past this version of the game. I imagine it's probably going to be completely different in a week's time once we see the new build unveiled, but I'm curious to see it. After some of the rage from some of the Vanguard players as well playing against, I think we're going to see some nerfs to the Fiends. We were casting some games yesterday, and man, there was some just Fiends running into worker lines. It just seemed unstoppable.
Yeah, Fiends are definitely quite overtuned in this build, but I mean, it's nice that things are overpowered because it encourages players to actually use them. Some of the units that are a bit more underpowered in this build, we didn't really see them, so we don't really know how they play out as much. Whereas Fiends, we know how they move around the map, what kind of counter attacks you can do. Yes, they're a bit overtuned, but it means you can probably make a more educated decision moving forward with balance.
Well, that's it. They're not really focused on balance. It's so early. They're just trying to make cool stuff right now. So it's actually a good point. It's like maybe they should make the Evac and the Doombringer, the 2 transports, like faster or something at the moment, because we don't see that much of them. So maybe just doing something to encourage them to get used a bit more, just so we get more playtesting and get to see how powerful it is. But for now, it looks like the game is stabilizing. Is there a tech difference between the players, or are they both doing the same comp?
So both players are up to the Greater Shrine, but Vortex was mining Therium earlier. I mean, he had an early expansion, and he was building those imps earlier. So he has the higher tech composition. I believe he's probably going to hit a timing here with Gaunt, with the Gaunt upgrade. And I really love this Shroud Stone in the middle of the map, because walking across the map, you lose all your white HP. He can come here and sit. I mean, also take the resource camps, but start regenning that. So when he actually does attack, he's on an even footing with mana.
Yeah, this is really nice. And so many more Gaunts. Those little guys are a ranged attacker. They have a bounce attack. And they are the ones that can do the hemoglobin infusion to infest enemy units. So, oh yeah, only brutes for mana, and it's a similar brute count plus the Gaunts in the back and a Magmadon. Okay, so the Magmadon is a big chargy boy. Basically, it's a tanky guy. He charges. When he charges in, he stuns everything in the area. Does it? I think he does damage with the charge
And
as
he
well.
breaks trees.
And he can charge up cliffs to break trees. He also does a splash damage attack. 1 in every 3 attacks. You'll see a big graphic when that goes down. It's like a big red slam. This is a really scary push for Mana. What the heck can he even do here to defend?
Big Infest goes down onto Vortex's army. The Magmadon jumps in and trying to kill all the Gaunts and spawn a bunch of Fiends.
Oh, he did get a few slams, but it does get taken down. 1 Magmadon, not enough to finish off all of those Gaunts on the bottom of our screen. They are mostly attacking buildings, though. He's going to get in on the Imp line. Imp's getting infested is so bad. This is one of the scary things. All your Imps turn into Fiends on the left side of our screen, and Mana immediately knows he's done. It snowballs so hard if your opponent has all that Infest there, and he's just got a GG.
And I reckon that fight could have gone differently if that Magmadon was able to kill all those Gaunts, because instantly, that's like 10 Fiends in the back line. So that's how it can kind of swing really, really quickly.
Yeah, it's kind of insane. Like, if you get one more Magmadon charge there for Mana onto the Gaunts, you can make up for the lack of Gaunts, right? You can say, okay, I'm just using my Global Infest plus Magmadon charges. Gaunts are very fragile. I can jump on top. But easier said than done. Oh, damn, I forgot to pay attention at the start.
I paid attention, and I've written it down. So I believe Vortex is the blue player, and Mana is the purple player. So Mana in the bottom left, Vortex top right.
Okay, cool. And we're once again seeing a quick vault here. Quite far forward as well, actually. Oh, two imps
might be the very aggressive 3 volt, which is probably the most aggressive build that we saw in this version. Where, I mean, Vortex has been pretty conservative about it by keeping them at home. We often saw players just build them right on the other side of the map as well to make sure that your brutes are getting there as soon as possible.
Man, yeah, it takes a while to move them across. That is one of the weird things, right? Because the brutes are kind of slow, it's like, oh, it's so awkward just sending them over. But you can just split them to Fiends and YOLO. The funny thing is, Mana went Shrine first. He got punished super hard. And it looks like there's going to be a tower as well. He's bringing a single imp, so that's got to be for a Shroud Stone on the other side as well. So, this is like the most all-in. Like last game, he's like, I'm doing a very aggressive pressure. And the thing is, I expected him to be greedy and Mana to be safe. Mana's like, lol, I'm going to do Shrine first. Actually, did he get a Vault first? I think it was still Shrine first,
it was still Shrine first. Exactly the same build as last time. The caveat, I will say, is this map is a longer rush distance. So if you were to try it again, it might turn out differently. And he's scouting around the natural with his first imp, seeing if there's any towers coming down before he builds his first meat farm.
And that one's going to get focused down real quick, but at least he knows what's coming now. That will have to get cancelled, I'm pretty sure, that meat farm at the front. The thing is, his building placement sucked last time, right, as well. So he might think, oh, if you do the same build, I can just put my meat farms in a better position. I know what I did wrong. Fix it for the next game. That's the art of pro play, right? Casual viewers are always like, oh, why don't you make a big change? Oh, he gets an imp. Not a bad start.
I mean, that's always nice. That pays essentially for one of the vaults that Vortex had to build, so evening that out. Now this Fellhog at the front is actually really useful as opposed to the last game. It's delaying this brute, keeping it off Shroud, dealing some damage, and it's just going to continuously, this meat farm, spawn more Fellhogs. There's another one.
Yeah, I like that he moved to the left there to avoid fighting the piggies, but it's just going to keep getting hits on anything coming in, so it will still be part of this combat. And the double vault actually already shutting down the Shroud Stone pretty quickly here. It does feel like that Shroud Stone, it's finishing. It's going to get a few hits off, but the Fiends, the Brutes take it down. Oh, and look at that. Building another building there just to save that at the last second. Really well done. This Shroud Stone looks like it will get focused down, but the cancel is good. The Fiend split into the main, so he's going to go after the Imps. What do you think of that call?
Well, now that Vortex is committed, and he's split all his brutes into Fiends, it's pretty much put this push on a timer, because eventually they're going to be chased down. If they go off Shroud, they'll start losing HP. I think Vortex maybe I'm not calling it a misclick, but I think he could have fought for a bit longer with brutes. You really want to delay as long as possible. And behind this, he's not able to get down an expansion, because it's the 3 volt play this time. So he's still rallying brutes across.
He's like neck deep. He has to keep going, right? He's like, oh, I've already gone 3 volt. You've got an expansion finished. I got to kind of go hard or go home, but he's just fighting pigs at the front and a Shroud Stone now backing it up. So you're fighting a tower and 3 units. That doesn't feel good. That does not feel good at all.
No, I think he's lost all of his momentum in this game. Probably to start off with that split. Maybe he could have gone back and take a health camp while he regenerates. But Mana has more units now, so it's going to be very tough.
Yeah, it feels like biggest map possible. Maybe, if you're going to do this, I'm thinking about how you could optimize this as Vortex. I'm imagining just send those imps out earlier. Because it's such a long rush distance, you have to get the vaults closer to the enemy base, I feel.
Sorry, you just cut out for me. But
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, I was thinking, surely you have to just build the vaults closer to their base to make this work, right? I mean, He does take down the Shroud Stone, but it feels like send the imps out at the very start of the game, maybe?
yeah, I think you rally your first 3 imps straight across the map, and you can sort of build it just to the right of where the vision camp is, right in the center area. That's how close you can get.
It's a bit of a mistake being out of position here for Mana with those brutes. He was trying to get some creep on. I think he did not think that there would be another layer of all-in coming here. As my BattleNet logs out and pops up on screen as well. Woo! Sorry about that, guys. Nice production here. We're casting in VLC Media Player. Production revealed. And, yeah, that's held. That's held. I mean, it's it. You got another meat farm at the front, a new Shroudstone going up. Your 2-base first one. He can replace his imps so easily. And buildings are just such good value here. You can go for fiends and run past, but he has enough to defend that. And if you fight on the front, you're not able to get through. So this one's all but over. It looks like we're going to see one more desperate wave. I imagine we're going to see him like split fiends and try to run in the main, but there's even a backup Shroudstone on the high ground because Mana's realizing like you just have no play here. You're just completely all in. I just have to survive.
Yeah, that's cute. And realistically as well, Mana could benefit from any of these Shroudstone abilities. So there's some really impactful ones that he could do. He's also going up to the Greater Shrine, so he wants to tech up to Magmadons and really stamp out this game. But I don't believe Vortex is a Shroudstone. So he wouldn't have access to Infest or the Shroudstone ability that spawns a free Shroudstone, for example. So,
he doesn't have the OP buttons?
No!
He's actually screwed. He's so dead. Like, we're just watching Dead Man walk, and he's going to go in. He's got new imps coming. He's going to try and build Shroudstones on the run. 4 imps!
The boys!
Fool the boys indeed. Unfortunately, they don't have Flame on because he's not at tier 3 yet, so they can't do the Baneling self-destruct kamikaze explode. That Infest you were talking about goes down. They're pretty chunky boys, so it's hard to actually finish off these brutes, but nonetheless, he can just spam another one the moment that one runs out because he's got the Animus. There we go.
That was a good example there of if a brute is infested, but your opponent splits it, doesn't kill it, you don't spawn a fiend. So there is some counterplay to Infest.
Right now, that is the only counterplay, but it is there, and it did force a second Infest to go down, and the GG comes out 1-1. Game 3, the decider. Mana has played Shrine first for 2 games in a row. Does he change it now, or is he just YOLO?
I mean, he could become the aggressive player, but maybe he's taught Vortex that he can get away with Shrine first now, so maybe Vortex decides I can't get any more damage done. He's learned how to hold it, and goes for a macro play himself, which I think would be really good.
And now this map's interesting because there's trees, there's little forests which only small units can move through. So brutes can't get through there, but fiends can. I think gaunts can as well. I don't think you can break those trees down, right? Is there any way to do that?
That's a very good question. I mean, workers in general can destroy trees and can destroy rocks. You just have to attack them. I
know there's like a path over to the left of this map, which you can destroy the rocks. I've seen people do that, but I don't know. I guess you could probably still work or destroy the trees, even though they are a weird, narrow path. I don't know. I just haven't seen it.
It's a good question, and I can't really answer it because we didn't play on this map too much. If you wanted to play this map, you had to play a bunch of custom games. So if you're preparing for tournaments. So yeah, I didn't really come across it too often.
Okay, cool. Well, we do see on the camera the siege camps. Special feature of this map, you kill those camps. They're a bit harder than a normal creep camp. You get a catapult. It's kind of like a siege tank, but it moves along with your army and just automatically attacks stuff. Well, it doesn't follow your army. It goes straight to attack their base, and normally you try to join up with it, right? These are those little forests we were talking about as well that BM was showing us, the lovely Observer and Caster. It's Shrine first, so it's just greed versus greed this time. So Vortex has given up the aggressive game, and he's just said, that's fine. I will also macro. It didn't work the second time. This is another map with a long rush distance, an awkward way to rush unless you just split to Fiend straight away. I think it's interesting because this is more of a chance to see what I'm most interested in. I advertised at the start. I said this matchup's ridiculous. And yes, we've seen some dumb cheeses and tower rushes, but that is not ridiculous enough to be historically important. I feel like a year from now, we're going to look back, we're going to be like, do you remember the Fiend orgies? Like when it was just, I'm going to infest you. No, you're infested. I'm infesting the Fiends that you infested out of my units. And we're just going to have like look back at these games with glory. So I'm hoping, since it started with an economy build, we get lots of gaunts on both sides, as well as lots of those shroud stones dropping the big animus ability infests. See if that stacks up. And if we're super lucky, they're highly unlikely, we'll maybe even get the ultimate unit, the flayed dragon.
That would be awesome.
And that adds a third stack of infest to any units it attacks with its corrosive breath. So that'd be cool.
Yeah, and I mean, we do see, and this is the nice thing you have about Fiends, and it's sort of the decision you have to make. When you build your first brute, do you want to split it straight away, go for a really quick scout, see what your opponent's up to? In this case, we see Vortex doing that. And you never get that brute back, so it's a really interesting decision-making mechanic in the game. But of course, now we see the Fiends going through the shorter path. The interesting thing about this as well is, even though it is the shorter path, the AI for some reason doesn't respect it. So you have to manually tell your units to go that way. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why we can see some of them going around the long way. Because that was, the second group that it wasn't really microing hard.
Yeah. I was kind of... Okay, so he's not going to get any kills right now. I would have liked to see him split up. Oh, yeah, that's the micro I was looking for, the bait micro. We do that in Zerg vs. Zerg and StarCraft all the time, where when they're following you around the base, they usually just think, oh yeah, units are on attack move, they'll chase you down. And you grab your back Zergling and you just run laterally off to the side, and the whole pack of enemy Zerglings chase it. You're like, wee! We can go kill their drones now while they're not looking. And they look back and they go, what the heck? Why is my whole army following that unit? Unfortunately, wasn't able to kill anything with it, but at least he got his Fiends out of the base of that.
And also, Mana, unfortunately, is a Protoss player, and I don't think we've ever done that micro ever in our life. So maybe if we see Zerg players pick it up, they'll introduce that more, which I think is really cool.
Adept Shades, unfortunately, don't aggro enemy units, because that's the only thing you guys have that are fast enough to pull off something like that. Okay, Fiends are going to get hunted down. They get cleaned up. Third base is going up real early up in the top. This was Mana in the top, right?
Yeah, correct. And he's also not mining any Therium. So he's just going straight for that 3-base economy, really delaying Therium mining, whereas Vortex is straight on that. Vortex is already up to tier 2, the Greater Shrine.
That's interesting, because he doesn't have Conclaves yet, does he? So it looks like he's probably going to go Magmadon Brute for now?
Vortex?
Yeah.
Vortex has 3 Conclaves just right next in the natural there.
Oh, those are Conclaves. I'm getting my building image confused. He's got 2 Iron Vaults and 3 Conclaves, and he's got, the building in the back as well. Okay, never mind.
The building in the back.
That's a ton of production for 2 base.
Yes, the interesting thing, Gaunts are really, really cheap. I think they're 75 and 5. So you could probably afford on 2 bases 6 to 8 Conclaves, I would imagine.
Wow.
I'm a bit... I don't think you could afford this 3rd vault. Because if you want to build a lot of Magmadons, they're really expensive. You could probably just produce that off 1 vault for the most part. So, the Conclaves, you can have a lot, because Gaunts are super duper cheap. Iron Vaults, Brutes are pretty expensive. Brutes are more expensive than a Gaunt, which is weird to think about.
Yeah, that is actually really weird. It's, oh man. Okay, so this is interesting. Mana's set up for a counterattack. I think he knows he's being greedy and late to attack, and he's basically saying, I'm going to hide here, and when I see you move forward, I'm going to counterattack. And I got the health camp, so, I mean, he's misclicked right now, but he should be sitting in it, but I'm sure he'll move back there. That's going to keep the Fiends alive. Even though he doesn't have the armor, the white health, he will still be able to just basically wait. The problem is he's lacking scouting, so he won't actually know when Vortex comes to attack him. But I do like the idea.
As he goes down the center.
Oh, he goes through the center, actually. He's going for the siege camps. So Mana sees this, right? Oh, actually, no.
That's Vortex, yeah.
Oh, Vortex has the vision camp, which is a dog with a radar dish on its back. Thank God for placeholder graphics, by the way. So I feel like, okay, Mana might know now from the high ground. He's got a few Fiends that came in. Oh, and Vortex is actually going to break the path open as well. So this game's going to get really interesting because this army is big. It's a lot of Gaunts, a lot of the big Brute guys as well. This is not going to do anything other than scout the fact that there's a massive amount of production. And there we go. Now his counterattack moves in. But the thing is, oh, look at the way Vortex is keeping the catapult.
Yeah, it's really good body blocking. So if it wasn't body blocked, it would run all the way around to the left-hand side of the map. But he's trying to delay it, so they will go through the center of the map once these rocks are destroyed. It's a really smart play.
Well, he's got to pull back now for the Fiends. But they are... The Fiends in those... Oh, Magmadon came out and just shut it down. Has to split a few to run away. So there's a Magmadon. First Magmadon out. Man, I wish I was in control of the camera because I'm like so curious if Mana's got his own Gaunts or if he's going straight Magmadon. I think this is going to be very hard for him to defend, But if he does 3 base versus 2 base, he'll have a massive advantage. Third is going down for Vortex right now. The catapult does go a bit ahead of the army, unfortunately, because...
And it might just get focused down, yeah.
Yeah, because he had to pull back for the counterattack. The 2 Magmadons come in. First one gets a good charge. Second one gets a big charge.
Huge.
Look for their slam. Big slam's coming in as well. He's got to pull those mags back. Good pullback. The Infest goes down there for Mr. Vortex. The teal units are getting very heavily damaged. Infest goes down to counter it, but he's got to get on top of the Gaunts. You have to kill the Gaunts. That's the big charge. Big charge comes out of Mana. Big slam to follow it. Mass Fiends pop out. They should be able to kill the other units, which will spawn more Fiends. We've got an Infest going down to the other side. The infested Fiends are spawning more Fiends. Those are getting infested in turn, which is spawning more Fiends for the other side. This is ridiculous right now, though. It looks like Mana holds on and crushes this fight, unless there's one more Infest and some magic happens. Everywhere.
Yeah, this counterattack with Fiends while this insane fight is happening. I do not understand what happened there, because it looked like Vortex was doing really, really well. He had a really good Fiend count, but then those Fiends got infested, and then they died, and suddenly Mana had all those Fiends. And if any of the Gaunts... Obviously, Mana didn't have any Gaunts, but if Vortex was using the Gaunt spell, it was doubling count that was being spawned.
Yeah.
So it just started going to infinity, you know, it was crazy.
You know, there's an advantage to having less units, especially when you're defending. The way Mana survived, part of it, and yes, the third survives, which is great for Vortex, but it's the Magmadons. If I think about this now, the Magmadons obviously did kill a lot of the Gaunts, but before that, I feel like also it's the fact that Mana held back on his Infest. The first Infest landed on 2 Magmadons and like 6 Brutes, which is just not that effective, and most of them didn't die until after that wore off. So I feel like the biggest thing is basically Vortex preemptively, he pulled the trigger too early on the first Infest, and then, whereas even though it looked like the first Infest wasn't going to be that useful, the Magmadon charges came off cooldown. They killed all the Gaunts. They spawned more Fiends. And then there was like a bit of back and forth where Vortex stole some of the Fiends back by, morphing them into his Fiends with his Infest. But there wasn't like a final one for him to bring it back in the other direction. That being said, he still has way more Therium mining, and he's got this double Luminite base. So he was very aggressive. He lost his army. He's still got a lot of high-tech units. He's still got like 1 billion Gaunts as well. And I still fear the Gaunt snowball. That being said, there's Gaunts for Mana as well. Both sides have Gaunts. It does feel like the army's a little bit bigger for Vortex, though.
Unfortunately, a lot of the army is Fiends, and they die straight away to the Magmadon AoE. They get infested.
Oh.
The Magmadons in the back almost kill a bunch of the Gaunts. Actually, they all go down. There's Fiends everywhere.
Oh my lord, it is a Fiend orgy right now. They're both spamming Infest. You can see it go down again. Everyone is spamming giant Fiend armies. And it seems like in that hot mess of a Fiend spam orgy... Wait, what the hell? There was like another 15 Fiends up north? Wait. There was the Fiends that were damaged dying on the way home, right? I think they died and turned into Fiends off the Infest damage as well as being off Shroud. That is so ridiculous. Oh my god.
What are we watching here? I mean, Vortex is still leading in the Fiend count. So possibly a huge Infest goes down. Of course, the Gaunt has the upgrade.
You'd actually kill them. Brutes. Oh my god, so the Fiends are spawning more Fiends like mad. Even if the player colors were perfectly readable, this would still look like an absolute blood orgy of madness and ridiculousness. Oh, this is amazing. This is so ridiculous. It looks like Vortex, he's still got that backline of Gaunts alive. Magmadon charge. Oh my gosh, Magmadon charge. There is an Infest on some of those units. He's got to finish them off, though. Right now, it feels like Vortex just has this DPS overload, and he can't quite finish off. He can't finish them off.
There's so many Fiends.
Oh man, another Magmadon charge. There's no Infest down anymore. Wait, no, he gets it. One more Infest does go down. That Magmadon charge not as big. He needs another body slam or two there. He lands it, but he just doesn't have enough Fiends. The DPS is overwhelming, and Mana with the greedy build has to tap out. That is the dumbest, most ridiculous matchup ever, Probe. I love it, man. I'm going to go back and watch the end of that while we talk a little bit about this to wrap up the video. I guess, first of all, I just want to say thank you, everyone, for watching this. This is going to be a little bit of history, I believe, how silly and dumb this is. But what I like about it, before I go back in and look at these fights and laugh at them a little bit more, is I do like the powerful feeling of spawning demons from your opponents. It really feels like you're infesting them and you're getting chest bursters popping out of your opponent's chests. You're both demons and you're trying to sacrifice stuff and, weird flesh sacrifice, blood orgy, as well as just satisfying powerful mechanics. Admittedly, way too powerful right now, but it's almost beautiful to behold a game this early in development where it's more ridiculous than the Mongol town center rolling into my base and AoE Fallout the first time I played, and I think that's something special.
Yeah, and overall, like, when you're playing as Infernal, it just feels so awesome. When you start comboing all your infests, it just feels amazing, and you generate this huge fiend army. It's one of the coolest feelings in the game. Yes, it's a bit too overpowered. I hope they keep some of it in, though.
I definitely do. I mean, as always, it's like, it's just a bit too chaotic right now. Maybe something like Fiends not spawning other Fiends. And we could play a prediction game, because this will be going up on YouTube, so we can look back on it and be like, were we right? I don't think Fiends will be able to spawn other Fiends. I think it'll only be bigger units that a Fiend can spawn from for both lore and balance purposes. Because where's it come from?
Yeah, I think that makes sense, and I also think maybe they could tie it to the supply of the unit. So one supply units, drop one.
Oh, yeah.
A Magmadon, which
pops
is
like 2 or 3 or something.
6,
and then
it drops 3. Yeah. I think that could make a lot of sense.
I think that's a really cool idea, actually. That's really, really fun. Before we finish, let's go back to the first fight, where the push-in came for Vortex. And I do think, I just want to, very quickly as we finish this video, look at the first infest, and let's count how many units actually go down. So I'm watching that fight now. First charges come down, and what I love here is he pulls back, and that's when Vortex infests, and he kills 2 units straight away, and he does his own charge. But then there's a few brutes getting damaged. A couple of them do die, admittedly a few die, but then there's the counter infest Magmadon charge, and it seems like, yeah, that first infest was just way more valuable for mana, I think, than it was for Mr. Vortex, and I think Vortex used a second one by the looks of it, on not that many units. I think he actually needed to like wait until more Fiends spawned out of his own units as they died, and then use that second infest. Because I don't think he has a third one available, and he ends up with not that much damage.
Yeah, so I agree with that. In general, the feeling was that you want to wait until there is a giant Fiend ball to infest.
Yeah.
There's no point wasting it on something else. If you put it on brutes, you don't really get that much value. On Magmadon's the same.
That's awesome. Well, it's kind of cool to kind of understand the ridiculous chaos, and I'm sure everyone's going, dude, I can't even tell what's going on in these fights. What are you guys even talking about? But yeah, I just wanted to cast this because it's funny watching the cheesy chaos of a game getting figured out in such a preemptive state where it's nowhere near early access just yet or anything like that. But awesome. Thanks so much, everyone, for watching the silly chaos of the Infernal Mirror matchup right now. And I look forward, hopefully me and Probe can bring you guys some more casts over the coming weeks, and figure some things out, and the next build I'm sure is going to bring a lot of different interesting secrets, so I hope to cast some more with you in the future, bro.
Oh, likewise, it was great having me. Thank you for having me.
I will have you any day, bro. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.